Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by telling you something heart surgeons have seen over and over again, not just inside the operating room, but in the lives of the patients who end up there. When a heart surgeon looks back on the cases they've handled, patterns emerge. And there's one painful truth they can all agree on. Most heart problems didn't start with genetics. They started with daily habits. Yes, it's true. The 7 worst daily habits that older heart patients shared weren't wild, reckless behaviors. They were the kind of small, repeated choices that felt harmless until they weren't. When heart surgeons speak about their years of experience, they often highlight something that rarely makes the headlines: the patterns they've seen in their patients' lives. These aren't abstract ideas. These are real, repeatable, and tragically common habits that show up again and again in older heart patients. The truth is, heart disease doesn't sneak up overnight. It's not usually a single event that takes a person from good health to a life-threatening condition. It's the slow erosion of wellness, built up over decades of small decisions. These patterns form quietly, without dramatic symptoms, and by the time patients arrive on the operating table, they're looking back with regret, not at one mistake, but at a lifestyle. This realization is powerful because it means that prevention isn't a mystery. It means there are clear, recognizable habits that, if changed early enough, could help someone avoid becoming another case in a long surgical history. Surgeons often say they could predict certain outcomes just by listening to how a patient lived. The same foods eaten every day, the same inactivity, the same routines of stress and neglect. The human body is incredibly forgiving for a time, but eventually it speaks. And when it does, it doesn't whisper, it shouts. The education here is simple but life-changing. If you can learn to recognize the patterns now, you can change your course. And if you've already developed some of these habits, you don't have to carry them for life. The same way they were formed through repetition and routine, they can be unlearned, but it starts with the courage to look honestly at your life and ask, what am I doing today that my future self will either thank me for or regret? The second lesson heart surgeons emphasize is even more urgent because it flies under the radar for most people. The worst habits were small. They weren't major vices or dramatic actions. They were everyday behavior. You're eating processed food because it was convenient, sitting too long because it was routine, skipping walks because it was raining. They were the things that felt insignificant in the moment. And that's exactly why they were so dangerous. Small choices feel safe. They don't carry the emotional weight of a major decision, so they slip past our awareness. But over time, they compound. A soda a day becomes 40 extra pounds in 10 years. Skipping movement becomes chronic stiffness, then inflammation, then elevated blood pressure. These small habits are like invisible threads weaving a trap around your future, and by the time they become visible, it takes massive effort to break free. This is where motivation must step in. If your health is the result of what you repeat daily, then every choice you make is a brick in the foundation of your future. That's not a burden. It's a gift. It means you have control. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. You need to treat small habits with the seriousness they deserve. Getting up and walking for 10 minutes might not seem like much, but when you do it every day, it becomes something powerful. Choosing a handful of nuts over a handful of chips seems like a tiny shift, but when that choice becomes a routine, it rewires your body and your brain. The small things add up, and the earlier you realize that, the sooner you take ownership of your health story. So don't wait for the wake-up call that so many heart patients only get too late. Start paying attention to the patterns in your life. Start respecting the small decisions. Start now. not because you're scared, but because you believe in the future you can still create. Many people believe that once they reach a certain age, or once they've received a serious diagnosis, their options narrow, their future is fixed, and their health is out of their hands. This belief is one of the most harmful ideas a person can carry, especially when it comes to heart health. Heart surgeons often remind their patients and the world that it is never too late to change the direction of your health. The human body has an incredible capacity to heal, to regenerate, and to adapt when given the right tools and support. Your future is not set in stone, no matter what your past looks like. Each day is a chance to turn the page and start writing a new chapter. This isn't just wishful thinking. It's backed by science, by real patient outcomes, by recovery stories that began when someone simply decided not to give up on themselves. Even those with advanced heart disease can benefit from small, consistent changes. People who once relied on medication to get through the day have reduced or eliminated their need for prescriptions through nutrition, movement, and mindset shifts. The heart, like any muscle, responds to care. It responds to effort, it responds to intention, and the good news is, you don't need to become a different person overnight. You just need to decide that your health is worth fighting for. Every healthy choice you make creates momentum. That momentum becomes motivation, and that motivation builds into transformation. This is not just about living longer, it's about living better. It's about waking up with more energy, sleeping more soundly, moving with less pain, and engaging with the people and activities you love without fear or limitation. But to get there, you have to stop looking backward and start looking inward. Ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to live from this point forward, and what is one small change I can make today that will move me closer to that life? That question is a spark, and when you start asking it every day, you create a fire in yourself that no diagnosis can extinguish. You are not a prisoner of your past decisions. You are the author of your next step, and the truth is, the next step matters far more than the last one. One of the greatest untapped powers in health transformation is understanding the relationship between the mind and the body. Your heart is a muscle, yes, but so is your mind, and both can be trained, both can be strengthened. A strong mind is what allows a person to keep showing up, even when progress feels slow. It's what allows someone to resist old temptations and replace them with new habits. It's what helps someone stay calm during stress and confidence during setbacks. Mental strength is not something you're born with, it's something you build, just like physical fitness. And the best part is, building a strong mind and a strong heart go hand in hand. When you feed your body nourishing food, your mind gains clarity. When you move your body regularly, your mood improves. When you practice gratitude or meditation or positive self-talk, your heart rate stabilizes, your blood pressure drops, and your health improves. The mind and heart are in constant conversation, and you are in charge of that dialogue. If you tell yourself you're too old to change, your body will believe it. If you tell yourself that every small step counts, your body will respond with energy and resilience. Heart surgeons have seen patients who came back stronger than ever, not just because of medical treatment, but because they believed they could. They chose to train their minds to support their healing. They chose to treat their thoughts like weights in a gym, challenging them, lifting them, strengthening them, and in doing so, they rewired not just their brains, but their hearts. What this means is simple. If you're serious about improving your heart health, don't just focus on what you eat or how much you exercise. Focus on what you believe. Train your mind to support your goals. Build your discipline like a muscle. Encourage yourself with every small victory, And most of all, remember that the strength of your heart begins with the strength of your will. Understanding what harms the heart is one of the most powerful forms of self-defense a person can develop. Awareness is not just about having medical knowledge or reading labels on food packaging. It's about being present and intentional in your daily choices. Heart surgeons have seen time and time again how a lack of awareness about diet, stress, sleep, movement leads to slow, silent deterioration. The body rarely gives immediate warnings. It doesn't send alerts when arteries start to clog or when inflammation begins to rise. Instead, these conditions grow in silence, only becoming visible once they've caused damage. That's why prevention is not something to be pursued reactively. It must be embraced proactively. If you understand the risks, if you know the habits that are hurting you, then you hold the key to avoiding the same fate as those who waited too long to change. Education gives you clarity. When you learn how sugar impacts blood pressure, or how sedentary routines restrict circulation, or how emotional stress taxes your cardiovascular system, you're no longer guessing. You're making informed decisions. Every piece of knowledge you gain is like armor, protecting your heart, giving you tools, making you stronger in the face of temptation or habit. This is what real power looks like. It's not just about discipline, it's about understanding why that discipline matters. When people don't know better, they rely on willpower alone. But when they know better, they begin to act from purpose. Purpose is far more sustainable than willpower and far more motivating. It's what turns awareness into action. There's a reason so many heart patients say, "I wish I had known." That sentence is full of pain because it reflects a truth they didn't get to act on in time. But you can. If you're reading this, if you're listening to the wisdom of those who have seen the consequences firsthand, you have the chance to be different. You have the chance to use awareness as a weapon, to spot dangerous habits before they take root, to see through short-term comfort and choose long-term strength. There is no shame in learning late, only in refusing to apply what you've learned. This moment right now is a line in the sand. From this point forward, you can pay attention. You can take responsibility. You can make smart choices and lead by example for those who look up to you. And the more you know, the easier it becomes to choose what serves your future instead of what only satisfies the present. Every day is a new opportunity. That is not just a motivational phrase. It is a biological reality. The human body renews itself constantly. Your cells regenerate. Your systems adapt. Your brain rewires in response to repeated thought and behavior. That means today is not just another day on the calendar. It's a doorway. It's a chance to do things differently, even if yesterday was full of unhealthy choices. Too often, people believe that one bad week or one bad habit defines them forever. They get stuck in guilt. They carry the weight of old patterns and tell themselves they're too far gone. But that's not how the body works. The body is ready to respond the moment you start treating it right. The heart starts healing the moment